Yesterday was Rudy, my teacher's birthday. Something he would be 93 years old or something like that if he was still alive. And it was a very special day, and a lot of people came to the meditation class in the Americas. Very powerful class, almost like a new beginning in the work, and I was very grateful to be absolutely part of it and allowing that higher energy to flow through and to teach myself as well as everyone else the essential nature of what it is to have a spiritual life. One of the things I spoke about was, what it is to have a spiritual teacher, what that relationship is like, what is required in that kind of relationship, the depth of surrender, the openness, the need to grow, and the need to, not sit in judgment of anybody, but to open inside and to use whatever energy comes as an opportunity to build one's life. And I learned that from Rudy. Rudy was not an easy person to hang around with. I mean, he was like, an atomic bomb. I mean, his energy was so powerful that if I would spend, an hour, a half hour with him, I always felt like a piece of burnt toast. And yet, to me, the most extraordinary thing about having a teacher like that, he was a constant reminder to me of how far I had to go. He never allowed me to get into my ego and think I've attained something, but always was a reminder, Stuart. I mean, if I would even for a second compare myself to him, I mean, the comparison was ridiculous. So it was a reminder, Stuart, look in the mirror, see what you are. Don't be afraid of what you are. Accept your limitations and use the Shakti, the energy that comes from your teacher to grow and develop yourself, firstly as a human being, and then, from that level of humanity, a spiritual life. So to me, that was an amazing realization when I was younger. I mean, when I was younger, I was very insecure. I was shy. I was, I also had a lot of ego and image of who I thought I was and what I, and stuff like that. Every time I was around Rudy, he reminded me, Stuart, you haven't arrived yet. You have a lot of work to do on yourself. At first, it was intimidating. Nobody likes to be told or recognize that you really have attained little in life and there's a long, and eventually I began to be so grateful for that kind of presence in my life because I knew that I needed to grow and I knew that I was incapable of reminding myself of this. And it took years of work to be able to get to a place to just accept the image that I used to see in the mirror of who I was and what I needed to do every day to grow and build my life. Now, Rudy was that for me. I mean, he represented to me, he was an extraordinary being. I mean, his very presence demanded that you sat there and meditated and that you didn't just, fool around and, waste time, that you really took advantage of the Shakti that was flowing from him. And, and then the gratitude came, a deep and profound gratitude that somebody in this world cared enough for Stuart, this kind of mixed up, drugged out young man who met this person, and the person cared enough to teach him the most remarkable teachings that I had ever come across in the 20th century, of how to use those teachings to build myself and how to look in the mirror and accept who I was and recognized that my job in the world was to work on me to continue to build myself and to grow. Now, this is a difficult thing for anybody to accept. We all, we all have images of ourselves and who we are, and we don't, and we don't want that to be broken down because we think it sustains our life. Well, it doesn't. You understand, what we see in the mirror is who we are. Life is the mirror. And when we see joy and love and, sweetness and kindness and higher energy of that nature, the mirror in front of us is changing only because we are changing inside ourselves. And I always needed when I was younger, and I need it today too. I mean, that's what these classes are all about for me. All of you represent, for me, an image of myself and what I have to do to grow every day of my life. And I never take that for granted, because the deeper I can change inside myself, the deeper I can nurture and nourish the people that come to these classes. Rudy was that for me. I mean, I don't want to, you have to accept whether or not I can do that for you. That's up to you, But if I can't do it, there's somebody in the world that has to do it. Otherwise, you understand, we live with this dysfunctional image of who we are and what we are, and with never, with never taking the opportunity to transform ourselves to a much higher state of consciousness. And I honestly, in my heart, believe we need people like that in our life. I needed Rudy. I was a 25-year-old kid who probably would have killed himself if he hadn't found somebody, who unconditionally, taught him how to grow in himself and how to accept that mirror image of who he was and use it as an opportunity to grow. Somebody who was a constant reminder that I hadn't arrived yet. I had work to do on me. And at first it was really difficult, almost impossible. But eventually all of that impossibility broke down. And what took place was my inner life evolving, the image of myself changing, that slow step-by-step growth that transformed me from a person who was really dysfunctional and disturbed when I was younger into somebody that can do what I do today. And all of this is important. It was important for me to learn this when I was younger. I saw how Rudy did it in his life. To me, it was a little shocking, the way he did it. And, but I watched him do it. And I said, my God, he can use anything in this world to break himself down and to learn how to get past himself and get closer to God. And it came from spending 13 years with a teacher who he did not like to be around. And I said to him, and I met this person, I spent a lot of time, and I discovered why. And I said to him, why do you do this? He said, Stuart, he's the only person in the world that I've ever met who can break me down. He's strong enough to do it. It doesn't matter if I like him or I don't like him. He can do it for me. I mean, was that an education? Certainly an education for me. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask?
Rudy. I wanted to ask if you could talk more about self-acceptance, but you already did, so it's very peculiar. But thank you for this talk.
You're welcome, Paul. It's so important, Paul, to be able to look in the mirror and really see what's there and accept yourself. I mean, I accept you. I look at you, I see a wonderful human being. I see so much potential inside you to grow and have everything in life that you could possibly dream of. You know, but you got to start from where you are. You can't start, you know, at the pinnacle of the dream. You know, you got to start from where you are. And then it takes that guts to just look at oneself. Okay, this is the work I have to do. I will do it on myself and grow and change.
Yeah.
And, you know, and not to be upset that you have things wrong with you, things that, you know, that you don't like about yourself. We all do. We all have things wrong with us, and we all have things we don't like about ourselves. You know, and that's okay. But in a work and change and growth transforms all that to where we don't even bother with the things we don't like. We say, okay, here, this is what's wrong with, I gotta change it. I gotta transform it. And I can work on myself. I can get closer to God. I can open deeper. And inside ourselves, we can transform anything.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Paul. Does anyone else have a question? As I say all the time, I'm not talking from having read about this in a book. I didn't take some advanced psychology course for a PhD. You know, this is just my life experience I'm talking about, what I went through, which in many ways is a lot better than, you know, intellectual knowledge about how the psyche, the mind works. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, well, God bless you all. There'll be a class on Thursday. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. And as I always end these classes, at least the last few months, you know, I mean, I can't tell you the gratitude I have to be able to sit here and do this meditation with all of you and to see how this meditation, even through a computer, for God's sake, through Zoom, you know, has taken me to another level in my life. And I'm very grateful to everyone who attends these classes. And I hope in my heart of hearts that you're all benefiting as deeply as I'm benefiting from them. So bless you all. And I'm looking forward to seeing everyone on Thursday.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Stuart.
Bye.
Stuart. Good evening.